welcome back to the channel. My name is Riley. Thank you for joining me this week. If you're new here, welcome to Riley's Reptiles. For those of you who've been here for a minute, appreciate y'all. This week I thought we would explore some IJ or Papuan carpets and kind of go over how I take care of them from baby to adult and show you examples of all of the above. So let's jump right in. Before we get started, as a disclaimer, I do want to say that yes, I am keeping all of these animals in racks. However, the same rules apply for keeping them in cages of any sort. A box is a box, however you choose to set it up. So before we, deal with any sort of mess with that, I just want to let you know the same rules apply. So, first of all, I thought we would take a look at a little holdback baby of mine, and I'll show you kind of a real basic baby setup. And by real basic, I mean real basic. The one thing that I do is some of these tubs have some perches installed in them, and as I'm cleaning and rotating them out, they'll get a little hanging perch on the side from time to time. Pretty basic, keeps it nice and clean and simple while they're little and scared of the world and getting used to everything. So it may look dry, but being in a rack maintains pretty decent humidity. So I don't have to keep that paper wet. Yes, I do keep them on paper. You can keep them on mulch or bark or any sort of product like that. That will certainly work well for maintaining humidity. Oftentimes you'll find these guys like to soak, and that's just kind of a weird thing that some of them do. Here's a little baby from last year. Well, I guess a yearling now. But yeah, the water bowl is just enough to provide some ambient humidity for these guys. They shed perfectly, and I'm up in Sacramento, so I get really dry air. So if I'm getting perfect sheds just off that, basically it's a non-issue. I don't measure the humidity. I don't have hydrometers in any of my enclosures. Basically, if the snake has a dry shed, then I know I need to make some changes. So generally speaking, regardless of how you set it up, you shouldn't have to worry about humidity with babies. Now, if you put a baby into a larger enclosure, just remember there's more airspace in a bigger enclosure, so you have to manage that airspace differently. So that's the only variable, which is why I find baby tubs work best. Much easier to manage. They're comfortable, they're secure. I can maintain that climate perfectly. So that's kind of how I set up a baby. Now let's take a look at something maybe 3 years old. Alright, so this is Redman. He's an F1 Papuan carpet I produced in 2019. And here's yet again another basic paper-lined simple tub. Now, his is pretty wet and condensated because he got fresh water yesterday. They love their water, and as I said before, they often like to sit in it. So even though I try and keep it low, they flood it. But that's okay, I don't worry about it with these guys. They're very hardy. As long as it's not cold and wet, you don't run into issues. Cold and wet equals respiratory. Warm and wet equals humidity. So this paper is a CMC Reptiles, liner that will dry out in a couple days nicely. Won't mold or anything, so I'm not worried about that. But real basic setup. There's heat in there. He's got a hide, water bowl. This is David Brom's Specialty Enclosure Designs 3D printed perch with the water bowl holder. And yeah, real basic. Keeps humidity nicely. Plenty of room for this guy, and basically a bigger version of the baby tub. So yeah, this is a 3-year-old sub-adult male. And I should say, for temperatures for these guys, I try to make sure the back end or their heated area has a warmer temperature around 88 degrees or so. Any warmer than that, they tend to get a little grumpy and stressed by the excess heat. So, yep, got him like this. Got his two sisters in the same way. So, pretty simple, pretty basic, and they shed perfectly every time. Alright, so this is Autumn. This is actually a girl who gave us a clutch this year. This is my really dark melanistic-ish Papuan or IJ. And as you can see, again, really basic setup. Paper liner, hide. She spills her water every so often, but that's okay. Again, these guys like that humidity. I don't have to go too heavy on the water bowl in here because, again, rack systems insulate well. But if I were to put her, say, in an enclosure like one of these, I would increase the water bowl size like this. Bigger surface area equals more volume for evaporation. And if I was seeing dry sheds, then I would probably add humidity hide or something like that. But there's a lot of different ways you can do this. For example, my Apodora, I keep on bedding. So whether it be cypress mulch or cocoa blocks, there's a lot of different things you can do to get that humidity up. So for snakes from Papua New Guinea, they like that humidity. Here's another very rudimentary, simple setup. Again, you can go embellish this and put perches and leaf litter and fun things like that, but this is just, you know, one way to skin the cat, so to speak. And this is a 4-year-old farm hatched animal, doing really well in there. She's actually probably due to upgrade soon. So a lot of folks have been asking about IJs, and we've come upon baby season, so a lot of people are going to be getting into these snakes, and rightfully so. They're pretty awesome. They have a great temperament, a lot of color palettes in there, some morphs you can play with. Look at those colors. And it's the one carpet you can still get imported if you can find people with import papers and get all that squared away. But yeah, it's doable. So you can get fresh blood into the United States and get some cool projects going. So a lot of people are starting to appreciate these, and that's why I decided I would do this video. I've been actually getting requested care video sort of thing for these guys. They're not hard to keep. Basic python temperatures. Keep them around 88 degrees. They like some humidity. Keep your your room warm and humid, and you'll be sweating like me, and your snakes will have great sheds. I run a space heater and a humidifier in here all the time, so kind of helps make the individual enclosures much more stable. So there's a difference between having humidity in an enclosure versus wetness. Don't just spray it and hope that everything being wet translates to humidity. That's not how it works. You need some warmth, you need some evaporation. So, but yeah, some of the best snakes out there, I'd argue. A lot of color variation, a lot of untapped potential, a lot to still be done. So that's kind of the long and short of how I care for my Papuan carpets, or IJs, whatever you want to call them. And yeah, I've been very successful breeding and keeping them for years. So that's what works for me. I highly recommend you jump into getting some of these snakes and try them out for yourself and realize what the hype is all about, because it is real. So they're fun. They're great snakes. You can never have too many of them. So definitely go get yourself an IJ or a Papuan carpet, whatever you want to call them. They're the same thing. So, all right, that's how I take care of them. That's the long and short of it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't judge on racks, although I am gradually switching over to more caging in time. That's an expensive switch. Just use what works, and don't listen to all the haters and the naysayers about whatever. If it works, it works. Bottom line. So, go and put this girl back. There is some food out. Don't eat any accidents. Go get yourself some Papuan carpets this year and tell me how much you love them. Comment below if you have Papuan carpets. How many? Who do you get them from? How much do you love them? And if you don't have them, tell me why you don't have them. And would you get some? Because I think you should. Alrighty. Thanks for joining me this week, everyone. See you next week.